The sugarcane sector in Brazil can be characterized by some numbers. The cultivated area, 7.8 megahectares, which is actually 0.9% of the whole territory. 432 processing units nationwide. The sugarcane production, sugar production, ethanol production. Also the energy matrix share, 16.4%, which is higher than hydroelectricity, 13%. And the actual electricity generation corresponds today to 2.1 gigawatts. The potential generation of electricity corresponds to 7 gigawatts. This is actually by replacing all old boilers by modern high-pressure boilers, and these 432 plants would be able to generate 7.7 gigawatts. Just to compare, one Itaipu, the installed capacity of Itaipu corresponds to 14 gigawatts, and the average power produced by Itaipu is exactly equal to 7 gigawatts. So the potential for generation is very significant. But what would be a typical sugarcane industrial processing plant? To do that, we need what we call an agro-industrial biomass production model, which is a set of mathematical equations enforcing mass, energy, exergy, and monetary balances, governing the overall process of biomass production and transformation into added value products. In the case of sugarcane, sugar and ethanol and bioelectricity. By writing down those equations and solving for the correct data, you get some important numbers. For instance, the average plantation area varies between 20 to 40 kilohectares. By taking the average 30 kilohectares by multiplying by the productivity, the average productivity, which in São Paulo varies between 80 to 100 tons per hectare, and by considering a harvesting period of 210 days, you would get a round-the-clock processing of 500 tons of sugarcane per hour. This number is very important because it defines the size, the scale of your industrial equipment. By considering 500 tons per hour, you could be producing 65 tons per hour of sugar, or 42 cubic meters of ethanol, first generation ethanol. And also, you can export by burning the surplus of bagasse, you can export 50 megawatts of electricity. You also have wastes. You have 2 tons per hour of CO2. This is just for from the fermentation process. You also have solids residues, which can be used as fertilizer, and you have vinasse. Vinasse is a very big problem. You have 500 cubic meters per hour of vinasse from 500 tons per hour of sugarcane. So in some point, a lot of water is added in the process, and this is a huge problem, and I will elaborate on that a little further. Okay, just some pictures to give you an idea of the overall process. The harvesting machines, those wagons unload the sugarcane into feeders, and it is sent to a mechanical processing. Sugarcane is chopped, is washed, the thrash is separated from the stalks, and so on. Then it goes to some equipment to extract the juice, which contains the sucrose. In this case, a 500 tons per hour diffuser. The juice is separated, is collected here in these beans, and it is sent to the fermentation process or to the sugar factory. Okay, the bagasse comes out here and it's sent to the boiler. It is burned there, and high pressure steam is produced, and it's used to heat wherever it's needed in the process, and also to generate electricity. This is 1,000 ton per hour sugarcane diffuser. It is important that to say that the average number, 500 tons per hour, is average, but it is interesting. It is more profitable if you are able to increase the production rate. This is the startup of that 1,000 tons per hour diffuser. This is a sketch of the ethanol factory, batch fermenters, centrifuge to recycle the yeast, and the distillery. We in Brazil also use a continuous fermentation process here. So those are continuous fermenters. Again, another distillery. This is the boiler. And this picture here is taken from that 1,000 tons per hour of sugarcane being processed. So actually it is a three-stage problem. You have the agricultural problem, the fields, from which you need to harvest and transport the crop to the industrial processing unit. So these trucks here actually is the third part of the problem, a logistic problem, because in order to maintain that processing rate, in this case 1,000 tons per hour, you have to unload each wagon in 5 minutes. So if you have one problem here, or just the fact that there are a line of trucks here tells us that there is some problem in the processing and you're not achieving the nominal processing rate. Okay? So these average numbers, 500 tons per hour, actually result from an equilibrium of the agricultural activities and the industrial activities. Regarding the plantation area, it actually defines your industrial equipment. And the industrial equipment, you would like to increase its size because it will increase your turnover, and also because you are going to be able to benefit from economies of scale. You're going to have a better feedstock usage. You're going to have better thermodynamical efficiencies, and so on and so forth. Then the turnover plus efficiency, they are proportional to the plantation area, which, let's say, that is proportional to the square of the average radius of the plantation area. Regarding the field operation, which are costs, in fact, they are also defined by the plantation area, and as being costs, you would like to decrease this number. What are those costs? Actually, they result from soil manipulation, plowing, for instance. You have to harvest, and you have to transport all the biomass from the fields to the industrial processing facility. The field operation costs, so they are proportional to the area, because this is the amount of biomass that you have to harvest, that you have to, the amount of area that you have to plow, and so on. And it is also proportional to the average travel distance. So field operation costs are actually proportional to the cube of the average plantation area radius. When you plot those two curves, you see that your turnover increases with the plantation external limit, let's say, or average radius. And remember, in order to increase your turnover, you want to work with the maximum plantation area that you can. Regarding the costs, being proportional to the cube of the average radius, they start to grow very slowly in the beginning, and they explode, actually. And there's going to be a point where the operation is no longer viable. So you have interest in working around this region here. That's living dangerously, actually. When you put all numbers, when you write all the equations with the correct data, you get that the average number today is 30 kilohectares. This is actually observed in practice. This histogram here corresponds to the plantation units in the state of São Paulo, and you see that the average actually is 27.8 kilohectares, and there are also new industrial facilities with much higher areas, because new technologies are being incorporated here. So you're able to decrease the costs. So you decrease this red curve here, and it will cross the blue line a little further, and it will allow you to work with increased plantation area, and consequently you're going to have a higher turnover.